We're ready with our next session. We're discussing ensuring biometric quality, compliance, and certification. Understanding the role of the compliance toolkit and the collaborative effort between MOSIP and BixeLab on a biometric device certification framework. And to take us through this, we have Sanjith Sundaram, who's head partner ecosystem MOSIP. We also have Anusha Sunkada, who's technical architect with MOSIP, and Dr. Ted Dunstone, who's managing director of BixeLab.
Good evening, everyone. This is Sanjith Sundaram. I head the partner ecosystem for MOSIP. And this session is specifically on how to ensure biometric quality. And then our association with a biometric testing lab, BixeLab, and the framework that we are building to make sure that the countries get the right quality biometric solutions and products. So, I hope you're all awake. It was a long day. No one is sleeping. No one is speaking. Okay. So, let me start with this basic slide, right? So whenever a country, so we had a lot of sessions earlier today regarding the biometrics, the basics, etc. I'm not getting into all the details now. So when a country really want to deploy a biometric device, let it be for authentication or for enrollment, they need a lot of assurance. And the assurance will be on various levels, right? So I was talking about a secure biometric interface in MOSIP, just to make sure that the biometrics are collected in a secure way. The security mechanisms, there are protocols, there are digital signature, you name it, it's there. Because we are trying our best to make sure that the biometrics are protected every now and then. And the quality of the biometric is very, very important, right? So the aspects that touch the quality, you have biometric interfaces, like how the devices talk to the system, what kind of structure it has got, where the digital signature is happening, how the encryption is happening, where the hashing is happening, a lot of things. Second is the most important thing, the image quality. The image quality is directly touching upon your false acceptance ratio, false reject ratio, your inclusion, how many people are able to successfully authenticate, how many people are able to successfully get into the system, all of them, right? So image quality is very crucial. Second is, or maybe some other aspects are on the hardware. So we have a model where we also have a secure attestation by the hardware with a secure chip. I'm not getting into details, but then there are some elements that impact the overall quality of your biometric system and the security. So hardware itself is one particular element where the countries need assurance, whether this is a good quality hardware, whether it's really meeting the specifications. And there could be other requirements, because there are challenges, there are so many challenges and threats that are kind of evolving. Recently, this is just to share a story. Recently, I read an article that A.R. Rahman, the Oscar-winning music director from India, he was able to recreate a old song with a late person sound and then voice, right? And then he was mentioning it's about 70% accuracy. So this is with voice, but then there are many other requirements coming in on the technology side, especially on the liveness, presentation attack detection, and things like that. So now, coming back to the country will need assurance on all of these elements, right? Now, is that really practical for countries to do, set up a lab, validate everything themselves? It takes a lot of effort. It's not that simple, right? You need to have specialist equipments, you need to have specialist labs to get this done. There are some challenges, availability of advanced labs, because we are working with close to 17 countries right now. And then most of them may not have a certification lab locally in the country. Then even if they want to set up a new lab, it involves a lot of effort. You need specialists, you need specialist equipments, many things. There could be challenges with respect to single channel certification also. So let's say if a country is setting up a certification lab. Now, if you are going to adopt a new technology, how are you going to do that? Because if a new technology is coming in, and if you are not really equipped to handle that, you are kind of blocking innovation there. So many other challenges, different technologies. We have, let's say, fingerprint. We have active thermal, multispectral, optical, many technologies. How do you evaluate all of them? And the lab performance versus what you see in the field could be completely different, right? How do you make sure that what you test in the lab is the same that you find in the field? There are issues with standards. For many biometric modalities, there are no standards. It's not really matured. For example, fingerprint, we have a lot of standards. Iris, I think we are still struggling with the standards. It's not fully ready. Face, again, it's one more modality. The new biometric modalities, we are also hearing about new biometric modalities like contactless biometrics, for example, voice biometrics, palm vein, a lot of things, right? How do you evaluate all of them? Interoperability, how do you make sure that these biometric formats are known to each other, right? They recognize these formats so that they all can work together and then form a final ID system that is qualified. So our initiatives, so in MOSIP, we did a lot of initiatives. We have been doing a lot of initiatives to make sure that the quality aspects of biometrics and the devices and solutions are taken care. A couple of them, my colleague Anusha will be talking about the compliance toolkit, basically a toolkit that is used for validating the API, the interface part of the devices. Second, there is a biometric certification framework that we are working along with BixeLab. It's a framework that we are building. It's a standardized assessment criteria and standardized operating procedure to test biometric devices. The end objective of this is to come out with a set of empanel certification labs. Those can independently certify biometric devices, basically an ecosystem of certification labs, right? Now, with that, sorry. Sorry for that. So another initiative is we have set up a small country in Bangalore. We call it as MOSIP Experience Center. So usually all the functional demonstration of devices, the capabilities on the functional aspects, you can come to this particular center and then see in real, right? So that means if a country is walking into this particular center, it's more like a walk-in POC where all the solutions, devices, all of them are kind of there and you see how it's working. So with these two, we are covering two aspects. One is the interfaces and second is the functionality side of the devices. Now, with that, I'll welcome Anusha to take us through the compliance toolkit very quickly.
Okay, I'm here to talk about the compliance toolkit, which, I mean, he has already given us the introduction to the APIs that we already have, right? We basically have three standard specifications given for this biometric solutions or products that a vendor could develop, SBI, SDK, and ABIS. So the compliance toolkit that we have developed is an online portal. It's an online portal. It is also available as an Android app. The compliance toolkit that we have developed is an online portal, as well as we have the same compliance toolkit available for the Android platform as an app. As I told you, compliance toolkit covers the specifications like SBI, ABIS, and Biometric SDK. All our biometric partners who develop their product with respect to the specification, right, can check, verify their adherence to the specification using this compliance toolkit. It is very easy. It is not that difficult for anyone to come and use this compliance toolkit. Only thing is they should be onboarded as a partner. Once they are onboarded as a partner, they will be given a credential with which they can log into the compliance toolkit. Now, what do we have in this compliance toolkit? We have handcrafted test cases for each and every specification, for all three specifications basically. And what does this test case have in it? Even before I come to this test case, let's look at the three specifications that we support or that we've published or adopted, right? SBI, SDK, or ABIS. All three specifications involves a request to be sent to the product, and then we expect a response to come back to the application that is using this product. Mostly only the communication channel is changing, whereas like in SBI, we use HTTP, whereas in ABIS, it is through message queue. So the test case, what it does is, it knows what is the request attributes that should be sent for a particular test case, and what is the expected response that should come from the product that we are testing on. So it is not only testing the expected response from the product. The response that we get from the product is run through multiple validators. Validators like schema validator, signature validation, ISO standard validation, and many more. So when you come as a partner, you log into a compliance toolkit. How do you start testing it? How do you start using these test cases on your product? It is just that you create a project, you give a name to your project. There are a couple of parameters that we take for creating a project. Once you're done creating a project, the project comes with two different test cases, collections actually. Collection is again a list of test cases. Two default collections are, one is compliance check collection, the other one is biometric assurance collection. These are default collections which cannot be edited because this is the basic test cases that checks for the adherence to the specification as well as to check what is the quality of biometrics that is being captured from the biometric device that is being tested on. We'll go to the previous slide. Okay? And added here is, when you create a collection and you start running the test cases, it is not just once. You can run the test cases multiple times until unless you are satisfied with the result. And you think that the results are satisfactory and it could be submitted for the approval. We also have an approval process which comes to our CTK admin who goes through the results that has been reported as part of this test case execution. And then the reports can be told as MOSIP compliant, that the product that is being tested is MOSIP compliant. That is when we say that it is MOSIP compliant. It is just the same workflow, or the way you work with the compliance toolkit that is summarized in this picture. As I told you, it is like adding a project. We collect a couple of parameters there, and then adding a collection. As I have already told, two default collections, and the partner is allowed to add his own collection with his custom test cases. He can still do that. You can run the test. You can run the collection so that all the test cases in that collection is executed. And viewing the run results. Every run that you do has a test result with it. And another important point here is, when a country is looking at this report, how will they know that this version of the product or this version of the solution was to which this compliance certificate was issued to? So what we do is, when we are creating a project, we also take the hash of the product or the solution. So we have a way of generating a hash of your jar, or might be the product that you've built, right? You just attach the hash so that the compliance report will also come with that hash. It is easier for country to validate with the product that they have got from the biometric vendor. So that is how we link the reports with the solution that is being tested for compliance. And that's it. I welcome.
Thank you, Anusha.
Thank you.
So what we have done is we have started our work with BixeLab to create a biometric certification framework. And I would invite Dr. Ted Dunstone, I'm sorry, it's a long day, to give an overview of what we have done, where we are standing, what are the excellent reports that we can see from the first runs. So we are so happy to announce that the first set of biometric devices are currently undergoing certification based on this particular framework. Over to you, Ted. Welcome.
Yes, as Sanjith said, I'm really delighted to be here. It's been a bit of a journey, as it always is when you are setting up a new framework, and delighted to both tell you about the framework, and that'll be the first part of my presentation, and then also have a chance to tell you about some of the results. Now, can we just stop the video for a second? This video is not, I would like to start with the MOSIP presentation if we could. So at the end of the time, if I've got time, I will show you this video. But can I start by just asking for a show of hands, who here has had a photo taken for a passport or an ID that's not been very good? Oh my goodness, that's actually not as many as I thought. Most people have had an ID photo for something which is not lighted properly, where somebody's not looking at it. All those types of things are, and can I just say, this is also not the right presentation. There's another presentation, which is the MOSIP presentation. So all those things are really important when you are running a system. If you're collecting bad quality biometrics into your system, that is going to cause problems downstream. And we've worked with a number of countries, large countries, where quality issues have not been identified until they've collected even tens of millions of cases. And what does that mean? Well, sometimes you have to live with that, but often it means that then some subsection of those people are going to have to come back. And that's really expensive, both for the person, for the organization. It's embarrassing. So getting quality right is really important. And so it tends to be a little bit boring in terms of the big scheme of, you know, running an identity system, but adherence to standards, testing, both at the front end and during production, the metrics of getting a good quality identity system working. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is just take you through some of the first sets of results from the testing process that we've done. Now, compliance testing for biometrics can come in a few different ways, and there are a few different things which are important if you're doing assurance against a biometric product. The first, of course, is what we're talking about at the moment, which is the quality aspect. But there's also, downstream from that, there's the what they call presentation attack detection. So that's vulnerability of the system to somebody, to deepfakes, to masks, those sort of things. That's a separate sort of testing from the sort of testing that we're talking about now, but it will be something that will need to be tested in the future. And then there's a third type of testing, which is the accuracy testing. So the accuracy testing is about when I come in and I show my face as Ted, if my brother comes in and tries to pretend to be me, will it reject? Now that's different from vulnerability, right? Because he's not coming in with a mask of me, he's just coming in to try as me. So basically they're the three different types of testing: quality, vulnerability, and accuracy. For the purposes of MOSIP, for the first compliance framework, we are focused just on the quality, because that is really the first cab off the rank, especially for enrollment type systems. A little bit about BixeLab. We have a stand out there. I'd be delighted to welcome you to the stand to talk about the lab. But we are a NIST accredited NVLAP certified laboratory, which basically means that we're able to issue internationally recognized ISO certificates. It's a very involved program, so we have to fly people from the US every year to check our processes. We've got lots of, when you see a lab, you just see the little tip out of the water of the iceberg. There's a lot of stuff that goes underneath a lab to make sure that you get quality results, you've got consistency, you've got the right technology and people to be able to do this testing. We're also FIDO accredited, and now we're the first MOSIP accredited laboratory as well. Oh yes, sorry, I'm in the way of the... So basically, we have 4 devices in our first test run. We have a Mantra iris scanner. We have the Iris Shield iris scanner. We have a Mantra fingerprint scanner. And we have a Talus fingerprint scanner. And these are interim results. We haven't finished this process yet, so this will be something that we will be hopefully finishing within the next 4 weeks. And part of this process, as with any sort of initial run, is helping to refine both the framework and the criteria. But for those of you in the audience, we would really welcome any feedback, any suggestions about what I'm presenting today, or indeed the general criteria. So if we move on, the test process, basically we are looking not just for what we call bona fide transactions, so the common standard test cases. We're also looking for adverse quality test cases, so to see how well the system will perform under a variety of situations, real-world situations that you might find with the biometric devices in the field. That might be things like extra humidity, challenging lighting conditions. So we want to make sure that when the results come in, devices can be used in a general profile. When we are setting up, there's a lot of work that needs to go into making sure that the devices themselves connect through the MOSIP ecosystem, that we're consistently delivering all of the images and the right metadata that we need to be able to do our testing. You can see on the right-hand side some examples from fingerprint testing where we have sort of ideal presentation, we've got low light, we've got overpressed, angled, dry presentation and moist presentation. And we have two different device profiles. We have an indoor device profile and an outdoor device profile, because the sorts of extremes that you get in indoor environments are going to be different from what you would collect in the outdoor environment. So the test results that we are doing at the moment are only for the indoor environment test cases. So from the testing process, we need to have good quality calibrated equipment. For instance, here we can see a light meter, and we also have humidity sensors and a variety of other environmental sensors, so that we can record all of the conditions and control all the conditions as we do the acquisition. If we look at the fingerprint test cases here, you can see that we've got here the testing criteria on the left-hand side. We've got standard, and then we've got a variety of different variants of situations that are less optimal. We have metrics for what constitutes successful acquisition. So this is, when a person first tries to use the device, how often are they being successfully acquired on the first attempt? How long it takes in order for somebody to be acquired, and then an NFIQ score, which is either an average of all of the NFIQ scores or is based on the finger, because obviously different fingers are more likely to get higher or lower NFIQ2 scores. These are based on a German publication, the BSI, Biometrics for Public Sector Applications, Part 3. For iris, again, we have a situation where we're testing a standard presentation, and then we're testing with eyewear, with a larger subject to camera distance, and with a presentation with a patterned contact lens. Again, there are a whole lot of different metrics that we get for these. Those metrics are not as simple as just an NFIQ2 score. There isn't kind of an accepted single score for iris, just like at the moment there is no accepted single score for face. So what do the interim results look like? So basically, we can see here the results, some average results across all of the different fingerprint scanners that we're looking at. In this case, all of the fingerprint scanners met the minimum set of criteria that we were using for testing. You can see there on the ideal fingerprint scanner had average ideal NFIQ of around about 48. Interestingly, the additional pressure test cases got higher in NFIQ2. That's presumably an artifact of the fact that you are pressing harder, so you are actually finding more minutiae. And you can see the other test cases vary as well. The successful acquisition rate was 100%, but when we did adverse angles, we had a drop of between 5 to 15%. And average duration for acquisition was between 4 and 6.5 seconds. So when we get to the end of the certification round, for each device, we will be building a profile along these lines, and we will be measuring that profile against the set of criteria we had. Where the device is above that criteria, they will receive a certification essentially saying that they have been tested in compliance with the MOSIP standards. Because this is the first time, as I mentioned, there may be things that we will need to revise and do revisions, but that's the process as it stands at the moment. For the iris cameras, we can see, again, similar situations where we've got the bona fide transactions, then we've got those with the clear eyeglasses, and then patterned contact lenses. For this, again, this is an indoor scenario. The acquisition rate in this case was 67%, around about 67%, which is a consequence of when you have adverse test cases, iris systems can take a bit longer in order to actually find the right capture distance. With the larger camera distance, the systems that we tested really struggled if the person was too far away from the system. One of the good things as well about the results from these tests is that they can give you pointers to the sorts of things that need to be told to users. So in this particular case, it's obviously very important that the person is just not too far away from the iris system, or the iris system is unable to find the eyes successfully. So from the next steps, we've got the systems are set up and continuing to run the tests, so we'll have more data in. We'd expect to have the compliance tests finished and issued before the end of this month. We welcome any feedback on that outcome. And obviously, if you have technology or are part of a group that is using technology, we welcome the opportunity to test your systems as well. So the biometric working group within MOSIP is going to be basically endorsing the final framework, and hopefully that will be finished and endorsed in April 2024. So if I've got just enough time, I think I have enough time now to show the video. So if we can switch to the video. So this is a video of the lab in operation. And I thought it was useful because the presentation I gave before was quite abstract, so it's good to see it in practice. This is a presentation attack example, but it's very relevant to the sorts of testing that we did for the quality as well. We do lots of testing for a lot of different organizations, just a small selection on the wall here. In order to do this testing, we also hold a range of different certifications. When we do the tests, testing is really important that it's done in the context of the device. So we spend a lot of time making sure that we understand how the devices are going to be used and any idiosyncrasies with the technologies. And once we've done that, we have a quality management system which makes sure that all of the tests we do are traceable and repeatable. When you're using any lab type system, it's so important to make sure that you've got this underlying assistance. What we're looking at here is some fake fingerprint generation. So we're using a variety of different materials. In the context of the testing that we were talking about before with the quality, that would be different individuals coming in and trying against those different types of criteria that we mentioned before. So for each of those, the results are put in a huge spreadsheet, which is double checked. And then we do a variety of analysis techniques to actually check the end results from that. That happens at a few different stages through the testing process, always to make sure that we have that traceability and that we know that we're testing the right components. It's very easy for us to get technology into the lab and then find out that it's not been configured correctly. So that's really important. And at every stage of the testing process, we then need to go and do an audit to make sure that all of the parts of the tests have been done correctly and that the quality is what we expect it to be. The final version, again, if you come to our stand, you can have a look through this. We basically produce a book which shows all of the testing outputs, all of the different methods that we used, and that's in addition to sort of a formal certification certificate that we provide our clients as well. So with that, yeah, okay, I have time for 2 questions. That would be great. Yes, please.
Thank you. My question pertains to the iris part of it, and second is a process part of it. Sorry, I'm taking the 2 questions. Do we have currently a test procedure to distinguish between human iris and animal iris? That is point number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the real life experiences say that some mischief has happened
Right.
way back in our country itself.
Okay.
Wherein, one fingerprint is being attached with the iris of a goat or a dog. Okay, so that is one part of it.
Yep.
And the second, how do we do it, testing part of it? Of course, it is an outlier. It doesn't happen that fashion. We can live by that, but of course, that's an important part of it. And second is the processes. Testing gives a kind of a level of confidence, but at the same time, it gives a learning towards improvement and a next course of action.
Yes.
So, how does the results goes into the improvement of the system?
Yeah, good questions. So on the first question, I would essentially say that is more of almost an attack, a presentation attack scenario where you're using a non-human iris. I actually don't know the answer, in short. We haven't tested that. But one of the things that we always do when we are constructing test plans is if it's important to a country or an organization to test something because of the particular context, then we will include that as part of the test. Tests are not set in stone. They do need to be relevant for the context. And actually one thing which I should mention too, the compliance framework is testing to a minimum average, right? Like, so what it's doing is giving you confidence that when you buy the equipment, it's going to meet your minimum level of standards. But it doesn't give you necessarily all the confidence you need. If you are deploying in an enormous country, it's definitely recommended to do more testing on in the local context before you do a really big deployment, because there will be subtleties that are specific to the country, to the demographics, to the environment, which won't be caught within the standard MOSIP compliance test. So that's really important. So to your process question, sorry, can you just quickly remind me what the process question was? Oh, loading and testing, thank you, yes. So when we finish a test report, we basically include a lot of detail about what we did in the tests, and that detail can go back, will go back to the testing organization, which can help, in understanding where they are not doing as well and the sorts of things that they need to do better in. But the MOSIP compliance tests are by their nature relatively, as I mentioned before, like it's to give you that minimum confidence associated with the devices, more comprehensive testing is what you would need in order to be able to really give it to engineers to do the sort of fine-tuning that you're talking about. Yeah.
In terms of photo quality, we have an issue there. How you consider when you are taking the decision to make the photo in the enrollment of biometric system, when you trying to select what kind of camera you will use? I see many countries use webcams.
Yeah.
Other countries use Canon cameras with high definition quality.
Yes.
In order to have a good quality to check for the motors,
Yes.
which is the consistency to select which one or other ones?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and it obviously relates to face systems where you're trying to capture and choose what's the best device. Generally speaking, enrollment is quite expensive. You know, getting people in, capturing the data at that point is, it's expensive to run, and it's very expensive. You have to go back and get people back in again. So the general point is the better quality that you can acquire at the point of enrollment, the better off you are, even if it doesn't currently result in very much matching difference at the back end. Because it is true today that a good quality webcam can be just give you just as accurate results as an SLR system. But one of the things that you won't necessarily get off a webcam is the ability to do real high quality forensic examination. It also depends on the size of the population, and it depends on the ergonomics. So what I would say is that it's better to err on the side of getting a high quality than it is to save some money on doing a very cheap implementation with a webcam. But testing is often a good way to go. Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.